There is a showdown in the NPP this Saturday, and tonight on PM Express, we're going to help you understand where the key battlegrounds are, where the key battleground constituencies are, and why they are battleground constituencies. This is your election headquarters, always brought to you by Petrosol. This is PM Express. Welcome. We're going to be having some new faces to talk to, and very interesting new faces. Some of them you've heard on television, but also across really all facets of life. They have decided that they are going to pitch their camp in the NPP, but in Parliament in 2025. And some of them are coming up against some heavyweights, incumbent MPs, some of them ministers, and they want to unseat them. They want to do giant killing on Saturday. Some of them will join us for a conversation tonight. But what I want to start first is to help you appreciate the contest, the key areas where we are focusing, and you should be focusing the areas that are generating all the interest, so we understand what is at stake as we get into Saturday, where the incumbent New Patriotic Party will be electing its parliamentary aspirants, getting them into a candidate mode for the 2024 elections. And why is that important? If they get this wrong and the fracture after that is not healed, the party for the next few months going into the elections will be crippled in Parliament, because the incumbents will fall and there will be casualties. It turns out that in cases such as that, they tend to withdraw. They tend not to give the party all, and government business sometimes is frustrated. Let's go to one constituency that we are watching tonight for you. And this began to unfold today. And this, I'm talking about the Ekrapim South contest. And as you know, you have Obi Amwa there. And Obi Amwa, as you know, is the Minister of State responsible for the local government minister, Minister of State there. And he, also the incumbent member of Parliament for this particular constituency, today said he's withdrawing from the race. So he has withdrawn from the race. And that's why we put an X sign there. The incumbent only with 3 days to go before the polls pulling out. But there is a more fascinating story behind this decision to pull out. And this gentleman here, we struggle to get his picture, and we don't want to get it wrong. So you have an image there of his likeness, if you may. But Eric Yeboah-Pedu is his special aide. Both of them picked the forms together. And many were wondering in the constituency, in the Ekrapim South constituency, why in God's name is incumbent member of Parliament, the Minister of State, picking up nomination with his special aide? It was a tactic, apparently, because there was a gentleman there who was the municipal chief executive, Mr. Frank Edu, who also wanted to contest. He played his hand, was campaigning already, but the party's rules are very clear on the matter, that if you are incumbent district chief executive, municipal chief executive, metropolitan chief executive, you cannot contest in a parliamentary primary in a constituency where the party has a sitting member of Parliament. You can't. That's what the rule says. If you want to contest, you must have resigned 2 years prior. So as we now learning, when Obi Amwa, from all the reports that we've heard from the constituency, learned about the possibility that the MCE wanted to contest, because he wanted his special aide to go in there, and knowing that the MCE had not resigned 2 years prior, decided, well, I am going to pick nomination forms and contest. What that automatically does is disqualify the municipal chief executive from contesting. And so he picked up nomination forms, disqualifying the MCE from contesting. And then as it turns out, 3 days to the polls, he's resigned. Not pulled out from the race, withdrawn from the race, leaving his special aide to go in there. And of course, as we know, what it means is that he will obviously be very active, helping his cause, campaigning and talking to delegates for him, and he's very confident that he will win. That is politics for you. People are strategizing and thinking about all manner of ways to knock out their biggest threat. Because in this case, the MCE was the biggest threat. And he found a way to do so, using and playing by the rules. And that, by the way, is a story of Ekrapim South. Very fascinating indeed. What that means is that it raises the profile of this constituency immediately. So we're going to be focusing there. One of the battleground constituencies. Will his protege win? Or others will attempt to make sure that in spite of all the maneuverings, he doesn't actually get to Parliament. That's an interesting story there in Ikuapem South. That's why we focus on that first. But what are the numbers? We like numbers on PM Express, don't we? A few of them to pay attention to. Total number of candidates in here, we have 376 of them who will be attempting to get into Parliament. Some of them incumbents who want to return on Saturday. You also have the qualified aspirants there. Some of them were disqualified. 17 of them, as you know, 3, 2, 1 of them managed to go through. And some of the 17, some of them are aggrieved, right? And as we know, we have a case in court right now that meant that particular constituency isn't going to be part of the contest come Saturday. And that is why you have a situation where you have 136 contests happen on Saturday, because you know in Parliament the MPP has 137 members of Parliament there, but because of that court case, one of them won't go on Saturday. These are my guests who will join me tonight for a conversation. You know him already. Charles Bisu is the former presidential staffer. He is going to run in the Sikado Ketan constituency. Yesterday, you watched Joe Gate, who is the outgoing member of Parliament for Sikado Ketan, who obviously is not going anymore. And that place now is open for everybody to contest. And controversies with the NAS and the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, but he's there. He wants to run. Claudia Kwating Lumo, CEO of the Glitz Africa of Orichrome, is also, of course, contesting, and we wanted to have a woman in the conversation. She's done a lot in this particular area in terms of the bringing women together to celebrate the achievements. Very famous in that particular field. He wants to bring that star quality to the contest. We'll see how he performs. Of course, Dr. Gideon Bwako, you know him. He's been on this show many, many times. He's the economic advisor for the vice president there. He's coming up against a formidable opponent in the sanitation minister, Frida Pempe. This is going to be one of the interesting contests to watch, but from all sources there will tell you what the polls have been saying in his constituency. You'll come to this gentleman here, who has been on the show before, by the way. He's also the spokesperson for the education ministry in the Asante Achim North constituency. Another very interesting constituency. I'll tell you why pretty shortly. He also wants to run. The interesting thing about the education ministry and spokespersons is that the last spokesperson is in Parliament. He also ran and won, right? And he also wants to follow suit there. They will join me for a conversation. I'm looking forward to this. Charles Bisu, obviously, in this constituency, is also doing putting a lot of work to try and see if he can get into Parliament. Okay, now let's isolate his constituency. I'm talking about the Sikado Ketan constituency. You see, he's coming up against somebody else who is in a current position appointed by the president, the deputy director general of the NLA. And this is a theme that you begin to see as we go along in the analysis. A lot of the areas that we are watching have contestants there who they're holding on to government positions. And we've seen complaints already that they come in with a lot of resources, and people say, of course, having been in this position, it comes with the resources, and then they make sure that the contest has become even keener than it would have been. And that's the situation there with Anna Homa Akwesi Mieza. But Charles Bisu is also in that fight. He is very, very popular with the party there. Of course, I've said he has his own controversies that he has to deal with. Giovanni. And yesterday when I spoke to Joe Gate, he mentioned his name because he says a lot of the candidates here in that constituency have been using his name to campaign. People record secret meetings and send to him. He says, well, he doesn't even want to hear them, so that he becomes even more apprehensive of what is happening. That's an interesting contest because Joe Gate is leaving. Joe Gate's own, I put that question to him. His performance in the national elections has been dwindling consistently. His poorest performance yet was 2020. He had around 50%. In fact, the president was far more popular in the Sikado Ketan constituency, getting some 33,000 votes compared to Joe Gate's 26,000 votes. And some people say the time was just right. The writing was on the wall. He doesn't want to take the party into the opposition in that particular constituency. So time to step away. But any of these people capable of improving the party's fortunes there, we'll find out. And the delegates will also have to make a decision. And then you go to a place like Orichrome constituency, where Claudia obviously is. It's an interesting place because you have some interesting party stalwarts there, people who are holding positions like the Deputy CEO of the National Youth Authority, Nelson Owusu-Ansah, is there. The pricing manager at Bost is also in that race. Executive Director of Senlos is also there. I mean, very interesting contest is emerging. And then Joseph Teyiri is also there. One woman against 4 gentlemen. What is the outcome going to be on Saturday? We'll watch this very closely. Oh, this is the context that a lot of people are looking forward to. And I am looking forward to this one because this one will be very, very interesting. Dr. Gideon Bako obviously is the economic advisor to the vice president. As you know, he is now the flag bearer of the party. And he wants to oust the incumbent member of parliament who also doubles as a sanitation minister. A formidable candidate, of course, in that constituency. But Gideon is coming in with a bit of public face. He is the economic advisor to the chairman of the economic management team, who happens to be the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. Look, take it or leave it. People in that constituency will associate the vice president with him. They will vote for him because of that. There are many who will do so. That possibly is his strength. But he's coming up against an incumbent minister, right? Coming up against an incumbent member of parliament there. And there was a polling that I've read about just before we came on air about the national security, the NIB doing a poll in his constituency, of course, because you have a minister there, an incumbent member of parliament there. And that poll, from the reports, put him ahead. But the verdict, the final verdict, is in the hands of the delegates on Saturday. So that's an interesting one. And then you come to Asante Achim North, another very fascinating contest. Why? There are at least 3 individuals here who come to this particular table in this particular contest with a certain public profile, very high public profile. You know the incumbent member of parliament already, Andy Apiakubi. He became very, very famous last year when he, together with a few members of parliament, became the leaders of the rebel group in parliament that wanted to oust Ken Ofori-Atta. That's when his public profile really shot up. But he's been in politics for quite a while. And then guess who else is in the race? Kwadwo Brown-Agyeman. Kwadwo Brown-Agyeman is the former member of parliament for Asante Achim North. He's coming back to contest him. And then, of course, we have Kwesi Kwarteng, who I talked earlier, who is going to be on the show tonight for a conversation, who is a spokesperson for the education ministry, also in the Asante Achim North. You see why this area is going to be very interesting. And by the way, when he was there, it was a very, very interesting constituency because we used to talk to him a lot. He was very vocal. He's bringing all that power that he used to have back there. But this man was on Newsfile, was talking about people who come in, having been appointed by the president to serve on boards and SOEs, and they come in with the resources to make their lives a bit difficult. I don't know, was he talking about a technical advisor who is also in that particular race there, Samuel Kojo Frimpong? But this definitely is one to watch. Will the former member of parliament manage to unseat the man who succeeded him? And then will the current spokesperson for the education ministry do anything that will make it interesting? By the way, I must pause here and tell you, forget about everything I've said. I believe the Dom Kwabenyo race is the most exciting race to look forward to on Saturday. Let me tell you why. Because you have Adwoa Safo. Adwoa Safo has become pretty controversial. Why? Because for the very first time in our history, you have a sitting member of parliament on the ticket of the governing New Patriotic Party who was absent from parliament for so long while he was a minister. And then his own leaders in parliament, his own colleagues, right, her own colleagues in parliament wanted her out. They wanted to remove her because he had breached a constitutional threshold of consistent absence without permission. They wanted her out. And that was a very fascinating period when the government needed her the most to assist in the process of approving some very important economic policies that would save this country. And she wasn't available. They chased her. We had to do an interview with her before the leaders in the House got to know where she was, because they were waiting for her. In fact, there's an astounding case in Parliament that should have decided her fate. Whether she lost, that seat is declared vacant or not. That hasn't moved forward. But she is on the ballot on Saturday. She was not even disqualified. And that for me is a very fascinating testimony. The outcome will say a lot. The constituents were upset that they couldn't connect with the MP who had abandoned them, right? That story is very fresh in many people's minds. And then you have the son of the former Speaker of Parliament, Mike Okoye Jr., also in the picture. This, by the way, is his third time attempting to get that seat from Sarah Asafo. And so this primary contest is going to be interesting. Another reason why it's interesting is because the last time they came face to face and they clashed in 2020 in the parliamentary primary, the difference was 8 votes. Sarah Asafo won with 8 votes. And there were many people who looked at what happened post the 2020 elections and say the reasons why Sarah Asafo may have taken the position she took, left the party in the lurch when they needed her the most in parliament to prosecute government agenda, was because he was very unhappy that stalwarts of the party backed Mike Okoye Jr. against her, and she nearly lost that primary, and so there was payback money. People have speculated that that was the case, really. So this is going to be a very interesting, fascinating case. I think for me it's the most fascinating contest to look forward to on Saturday, because if she wins, it will be possibly one of the biggest, I guess. Many people who wanted her out in Parliament would have felt this is an opportunity to get the delegates to kick her out through a process that is less controversial, because you're going to trigger the constitutional provisions to remove your own sitting member of Parliament and shoot yourself in the foot by having one less member there. It was the NDC that defended her, right? So you can see all the permutations and what may be happening between these two. It's going to be interesting indeed, of course. There's very little to say, considering what I've said about these two, about the third candidate there. But sometimes when two elephants fight, small little animal can take advantage of the fight. Can she? Can she ride on that? Can she step in between and take advantage of this giant clash? Now very much, one of them will win. Considering the tightness of the last race, it is everybody's game. But I'm looking forward to this one, and we are there for you. Remember, I want to go back and say one quick word. Look forward to our special report on Dom Kwabenya on Thursday. It's going to be fascinating. Watch it. We're spending some time in that constituency to understand what's going to happen, because this contest is going to be absolutely fascinating. And then, of course, this one is another one to watch. I mean, when you begin to look at all the juicy, fascinating contests this Saturday, you can't wait to join us at 7 a.m. in the morning of Saturday. Because you go to the Ashanti region. Bantama is going to be one of the key areas to watch. Why? Because you have the brother of Kennedy Japon contesting. And Kennedy Japon has been causing a lot of trouble in the Ashanti region for Asenso Boache, because his brother is contesting. He had said, very famous, widely circulated audio at one of the campaign events, threatening that he was going to expose and by the way, he is the incumbent member of Parliament, but also the Minister of State, Works and Housing, Minister for Works and Housing in Bantama. And Kennedy Japon had said that he's going to expose him because when he was a deputy chief of staff, he was engaged in alleged corrupt practice. There's no evidence to support that particular claim, but he made that claim and he denied it. Again, accusations were made about government bungalows that had been sold to private firms. That was also denied. So this is going to be a very monumental clash in Bantama indeed. He has been riding on the back of his brother, throwing him into the campaign and taking some of the votes and the aura around Kennedy Japon when it comes to party delegates. Remember him in the primary? He was second when many people thought Alan Chamanteng, the super delegate, should be second. And of course, if you come to the primary itself, Kennedy Japon gave the vice president a good run for his money. And that is why many people think that Kennedy Japon is pulling those same delegates who voted for him then in the Ashanti region for his brother. But will that work? considering how controversial he sounds? Can he ride on the back of this? So we are watching this very, very closely in that particular constituency. Oh, goodness me. You have also another race there that is interesting in the Menchia South constituency. Why is this interesting? He is the incumbent member of parliament, but also the energy minister, who is widely tipped as one of the favorites to be the running mate to the vice president. And as you've seen, there are a lot of reports today and the day before, even Kennedy Japon himself in Ashanti region has said that he will not campaign for the party if he doesn't become running mate. So he's one of the widely tipped individuals to be. But he has a contest. Somebody is coming up against him. Helena is coming up against him. And Helena is determined to cause the biggest upset in political history. And that, by the way, is just just to state the point, that is going to be one of the, if indeed she manages to unseat Matthew Pempe, you have to put that in the context of one of the most jaw-dropping contest outcomes ever in parliamentary history, parliamentary primary history. But we'll see. And the mere fact that he has a contest is one that many have looked at and say, but your other, the other individuals who have been tipped don't have contests, right? You have either have decided not to go to parliament again. Joe Wise, Joe Sowus, who is the first deputy speaker of parliament. You have the leader of parliament, leader of government business in parliament, the minister of parliamentary affairs, the majority leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, also not going again. And then you also have the education minister, who doesn't have a contest. In fact, he is going unopposed there. All of them tipped because the party has taken a decision that the running mate should come from the Ashanti region. How come a man who is widely tipped is getting a contest? And so we're going to watch this closely. He needs more than 90% of the votes there to leave absolutely no doubt that his core base in his constituency, among the delegates of the party, they are overwhelmingly behind him. And that if he gets to become the running mate, he can deliver that, his popularity. Because you are nobody in politics without your base. And he needs to bring that base to the table on Saturday. He needs to get, because of course many of you say this is a David and Goliath fight. He needs to show that Goliath will not be killed with a sling. And to do that, he will possibly need to kill this fly with a sledgehammer. Can he deliver that sledgehammer effect on Saturday? Is a question that we need to answer. The delegates will help us do that on Saturday. And then, goodness me, as I go through this, you begin to see every slide is one that you cannot avoid. And then you have the case of Asante Akim Central, where you have a Nyumedo Entry, who is incumbent member of parliament, who is a chair of the parliamentary select committee on the parliamentary select committee on constitutional legal affairs. He is coming up against the CEO of NEIP, and this contest is interesting because he was arrested, right, by the special prosecutor. Allegations are that he was using his position, abusing his incumbency, using monies there to finance delegates and party officers in his constituency to aid his cause, right? And that has been reported to the special prosecutor. He has been arrested and bailed. That already throws up a very interesting contest. Mr. Nyumedo has denied that he was behind that particular report because he wanted to take him out. And many speculated that he was the one because, remember, the last primary, the gap between these two, they came face to face, they clashed in 2020. The gap between these two was 41 votes. And that was very close. The man is coming back. Now he has more resources as NEIP boss. And that gap can close. And so we're watching this space very closely. And one of the things we're doing for you is watching constituencies where we have incumbents coming up against other aspirants who they've contested before. We're going to look at the margins in the last time and whether they can close it. So you can see the threat. This man gave him a good run for his money in 2020, reduced his votes. Gap was 41 votes. He's incumbent. Can he turn the 41 votes around in his favor now on Saturday? A key question that we need to answer indeed. Of course, you have Nana Jiman in there. This case we are watching very closely. And then you have Katie Hammond's case. I interviewed him. He's a minister, the trade minister. Very controversial, but he speaks his mind. He's incumbent member of parliament for the Dansia Sokwa in the Ashanti region. He is coming up against 3 other individuals. And the fascinating thing about this is he sent a petition to the party to disqualify the 3 on various grounds. Look closely and you'll find a possible reason. Because Samuel Darkwa Benfo was his main contender in the 2020 primary. And he managed to close the gap, gave Katie Hammond a good run for his money with a difference of just 58 votes in that particular contest, right? And so that was close. He had 180 of the votes, and he secured more than 200 of them, right? And that there tells you the story. Can he cause him an upset? And if you're incumbent, you're watching the man who nearly gave me one that would kick me out of parliament, would you stand to allow him to contest? If you can get the party to legitimately disqualify him, would you try? Well, he did. The party disagreed, and so he's on the ballot. If you put him on the ballot, it makes this particular constituency very, very interesting to watch, and we'll be watching that very, very closely. And then you have the information minister, he's coming up against 2 other people. And this really is a contest that we are watching very closely. He is the information minister. He's the incumbent member of parliament for the area. But 2 contests. And as we know already, it's keen. But we'll watch this very closely. We have correspondents on the ground who will bring us the very latest, because he's coming up against the former national chairman of the GRA Workers' Union. If you know anything about Workers' Union leaders, they know their politics. And that possibly is what he's going to bring to bear. But Kojo also knows his politics. You don't get into parliament, become an information minister from a deputy position, and not know your staff when it comes to the ground game. He spent some time in the constituency trying to get delegates to vote for him. You can't take anything for granted. And this is a race that we're going to watch very closely, because the intelligence there suggests it is one you cannot take your eye off. And Asin Central is there. Why Asin Central? This is a very simple reason why we are highlighting this one area as to what Kennedy Pond factor. This is his constituency. He's decided not to run again, and so he's opened up the field for 3 individuals to contest. Joseph Ajay Benin, Obed Kumi Uwa, and Gofford, and they will attempt to replace him. The thing is, we've been trying to find out which of these has the blessing of Kennedy Pond. Kennedy Pond is very busy in his brother's constituency in the Shantridge campaigning for him. So he hasn't spent too much time in his own constituency. But he will have influences there. Whoever gets that, and the delegates know it, may have an advantage. So we'll watch that very closely come election day on Saturday. And then you have a situation where the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour, Bribe Kubebe, who is incumbent member of Parliament in the Heman Lower Dentra constituency, is coming up against a man who is, many say, has the resources because he is a CEO of the Ghana Eggs and Bag. So that, again, is going to be a very interesting contest. There will be giant killings on Saturday. And the question is, can he do so against the incumbent now? The polls tell a very interesting story. And Global Info Analytics has been doing some work in some of the constituencies. If you go to Bantama, where the brother of Kennedy Pond is, they say Francis Nsubuachi, who is the Minister for Works and Housing, will win significantly with 94%. We will see. The delegates will have the final verdict. If you go to Adansia Soka constituency, they say Katie Hammond will win. But pay attention to undisclosed, undecided, far higher than those who have actually decided. And this is what is dangerous for Katie Hammond in this constituency. One of the very important things to watch. You come to the Dom Kwabenya constituency, Michael Quaid Jr., according to the Global Info Analytics poll, should win this against Sarah Jossafo. But again, undisclosed, undecided. Very important to watch. They are the most dangerous bunch of people when it comes to respondents in this. You have Frida Prempe and Gideon Bako also contesting. The undisclosed is very, very important also in that particular constituency. Now, this is why you stay with your election headquarters. My guests will join me. We have 1 hour conversation taking us to 10:30 tonight when we talk to the new faces here on PM Express. Stay with me. By Syntax Tanks, it is strong, it is tough. Aloma Bitters experience greatness in every moment. Ghana AIDS Commission Syntax Tanks is one and the only tank you need to be calling. In fact, if you want a tank for your home, because they first introduced a double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tanks is first introduced the white inner layer tanks in Ghana. We now introduce you to the customer specs order, which lets you order any color and size of preference. Syntex tanks gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. Call them now. Pick a phone. It is 0244, because their agents are nationwide, 335-168, 0244 335-168, or shop online at syntexgh.com. Air strong, air tough. Dr. Gideon Bako is my guest, MPP parliamentary aspirant for Tano North constituency. Claudia Kwarteng-Lumo is the MPP parliamentary aspirant for the Forikrom constituency. We also have Kwesi Kwarteng is the MPP parliamentary aspirant for Asante Achim constituency, and Charles Bishu is the MPP parliamentary aspirant for the Sikado Kitan constituency. Gentlemen, you wouldn't mind, let me start with a lady. Claudia, great to have you joining us. Now, tell me, how has it been? Is that the first time you're trying your hands at politics?
Yes, it is the first time I'm trying. Evans, thank you so much to yourself and to your viewers. It has been tough. It's been a tough 3 years working on this on the ground with the party delegates. But yeah, it's almost coming to an end.
Okay, so far, what has this big experience been? Has things shocked you, or you've managed to get it under control and turn it in your favor?
I think I've managed to turn things under control, because coming in to start this, mind you, you're dealing with grassroots people of the party. So people may have heard your name, but to be able to let people understand the essence of who you are, to be able to get into the heads of people to understand that the type of service or the type of leader you are seeking to be for the constituency, it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and my constituency is really big. Of Forikrom, we have over 1,000 delegates and 22 electoral areas. So to work in a huge MPP stronghold constituency that people are so passionate about the party, people are so passionate about the region, it's not easy. But I came in so people can see that I have a heart to serve. And that's all I was doing. And I believe that the delegates have seen the work that I'm doing. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Saturday, I will hear good news.
Let me bring in Dr. Gideon Bako, who joins us. Gideon, your contest, as I said, is one of the most keenly anticipated ones. It is an area to watch. It's going to be fascinating because you're coming up against an incumbent minister in Frida Pempe, but also yourself. You are an economic advisor to the vice president. You speak for his office. Has that become an advantage at all for you on the ground? That background that I just mentioned.
Well, Happy New Year, Evans. I think the greatest advantage I have is my personality and who I am, and all other things are coming in as additions. And it's a political contest, so I understand, and so I know every force and every arsenal that I have to deploy to my advantage. I'm taking advantage of that, but I wouldn't say my office is an advantage or disadvantage. I mean, it's I'm contesting against an incumbent and resources, and has been there several times. So if there's any advantage, she's the one who has incumbency advantage and not me. But I believe that seeking such an office, you must understand that you're going to deal with people. And so sometimes, in most cases, beyond your vision, beyond what you seek to do for the betterment of life of the people, your personality and your relationship with the people also matters a lot. And don't forget, I might be new in the game as far as this parliamentary election is concerned, but when it comes to politics, I've been in politics for quite some time. A lot of people don't know. I've been the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer before. I've served this party as a polling station executive. I've served this party at the constituency level, and I became the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer, TESCON leader, a communicator for the party way back since 2002. So I've been in politics for quite some time. It's just that people think because of academics and PhD and economic advisor, people think I'm just only a technocrat. But so that's the strength that I draw getting into this contest. I'm a grassroots person, and that is what I'm using to my advantage.
Okay, and we'll come to talk about coming up against an incumbent and what difference does it make? Does that change your strategy at all? But also, I've seen this NIB conversations about the polling they've done there, and I'm curious to know, yes, it says you're in the lead, but how much value are you placing on that? I want to bring in Kwesi Kwarteng. Mr. Kwarteng, you would have been sitting beside me right now if we're talking about education. And I've had many encounters with you talking about that sector. And then I hear you're picking up forms to contest. I said, no way, because, I mean, the lightning can't strike twice. The last guy who was there speaking for the Education Ministry became a member of parliament in the Ashanti region. You decided to contest. I'm very curious. Why, though?
Evans, thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you. Of course, I think the bottom line is that you are raising a question of what motivated Kwesi Kwarteng to even go into the contest in the first place. I mean, clearly, first of all, if you ask me, I am into this contest, first of all, to save the seat. If you look at the voter patterns, particularly taking them from the 2020 voter patterns, you realize that the performance of the MPP within the Asante Achem North constituency continues to go down. I mean, if you want to just suppose that with that of the NDC. If you look at the voter trend, for instance, you had NDC's votes appreciating almost 4,000 differences. I mean, if you want to compare that to that of MPP, you could see that there was a very marginal increase in our votes. So based on that, and I mean, based on the explanation that I've given, this time around, you are having even independent candidates who feels motivated that if they come, they are going to get a seat. So I am coming in as a new face. I am coming in as a fresh face. I mean, the young guy with the energy, the young guy with a vision to use education as a trump card to develop the constituency, education as a basis to transform the constituency. Of course, getting everybody on board, making sure that there is unity, and of course, unity anchored on sanity, particularly at the leadership level, so that we are able to bring every facet, every person within the constituency together and make sure that we win the seat. So, Kwesi Kwarteng is coming so that we won't lose the seat to our opponents or any independent candidate. But of course, beyond that, we are also looking at indeed bringing development to the constituency through education. Of course, I have had the opportunity to be mentored by Dr. Oseduchu, who has used education as an anchor or as a bait to transform his constituency. He talks about producing 1,000 engineers, producing 1,000 doctors. I believe that as Asante Achem North too, we can do the same. If you recall, this was the constituency of the Honorable late Kojo Banredu, the constituency of the constituency of Anna, a constituency where we had a ministerial appointment where you had the late Banredu rose to the high office as even a finance minister. But this time around, what just happened in even 2020? In 2020, the ministerial seat that we had in Asante Achem North was taken from Asante Achem North and was not taken to the voter region, not any of the 5 northern regions, but was taken from Asante Achem North to Asante Achem South. So it means that even the president himself lacked confidence in the leadership that we had. And so we are coming in to salvage the situation and restore the hope that Asante.
So that in essence is your reasoning. We'll come to the messaging pretty shortly. Let me bring in Charles Bishu. Charles, you have a peculiar case. You have a stalwart in that constituency in Joe Gatti, who I sat with just on Monday, who has decided after 5 terms, 20 years, says, I'm not going to go again. And so he's out of the way. Does that make your job easy?
Thank you, Evans, and good evening to your listeners. I don't think it makes my job easy. It's a case of filling the boots of, say, Alex Ferguson, who did so much for Manchester United, and then we brought in other managers who couldn't actually live up to expectation. So what Joe Gatti has done, normally I say that if you're looking at the 10 top constituencies in Parliament, then Kadikaten is one of them. So me going there means that it's going to be a Herculean task. But then I believe that the experience I've had as a former regional secretary for 8 years with results, and then also National Council member, within the government and all that, and the personality that I have, I think that I can actually do some. I'm not actually there to overtake what he's done or do more than what he has done, but rather to expand it. So I believe that the foundation that we have there, I can do more.
Elephant in the room. It was, and Yapiaku, we now come to Mr. Kwarteng because he makes the point on this particular subject of, you have in that constituency the Deputy Director General of the NLA who's also contesting. Resources mean a lot in campaigning. Yeah. They mean a lot. And you have a situation where, as has been complained about, the individuals who are holding on to government appointments. You've been a government appointee before, so you know this. They get resources and bring it into the constituency, and of course they want to run, and they make life a bit more difficult for you. Is that a concern for you? Does that
for me? Personally, it's not a concern for me, but for the party and government, I think so. You see, we have a situation where people go in for appointments and then garner resources, come in and then take seats, and then they get to Parliament and are not able to perform. What I'm saying is not a generic thing, specific cases. So, if somebody's coming in resources, with a lot of resources, I don't think that would actually would actually affect what I am doing. Because I remember I've been in the region for quite some time, and I do know most of the delegates, and I go in not looking at what somebody's doing. I go in telling them my story, being consistent with them, and the things that I can do. So, yes, resources, some people use them to actually take seats from people who would have been, competent in Parliament, and then go in. And I have a case here in the region where I remember under NDC, there was somebody who was a chief executive, went to Parliament, and the first time he saw his wage slip, he was so disappointed, and he lost the seat the next time to, MPP got the seat back from them because he couldn't actually sustain what he was doing during the campaign then. So for me, my message to the delegates is that we need somebody who has that substance. If I talk about substance, not form. Form is where you actually gather the resources, come in, and then take the seat, and then you are not able to perform. And that's the message, and I believe that they are discerning. And for my experience in the region, let's put it this way, Evans, I know the region and I know the constituency. And I have worked with most of these delegates to actually win, get results for the party. So yes, having a lot of resources.
But yourself, you're well endowed. You were presidential staffer, appointed to the interministerial committee. You said the National Council. And so you're also very well endowed coming into this. Although you don't.
Yeah, Evans, I served the party for 8 years without being paid, and I was okay. It got to a point that I used to pay my secretaries from my own pocket. There are things that I did in 2015. I got passport for all party executives and their family from my own resources. So I've done my own business on the side to sustain what I am doing. So I do not have to depend on getting an appointment before going for a parliamentary seat. That's what I'm saying, that you go in there, you get a seat, and then you get to Parliament, and you're not able to perform or sustain the resources, and that affects quality in Parliament. So these are things that as I'm going around, I'm actually educating the delegates as well, because you see, the psychology is that they're delegates, but my orientation and then what I've been telling them is that they're party officers. So after this exercise, you'll be going out there to work for the party. So that sense of belongingness the sense of duty and all that needs to be instilled in them, that you're only a delegate every 4 years.
Interesting point. Now you're talking about messaging. I mean, Dr. Kidiobwako, what is your message in your constituency, in the town of Northcote? What is the message that you're telling your delegates?
The message in Tananoff may not be substantially different from what is in other constituencies. I think, first of all, I'm a party person, and just like any other party person, we want to make sure that this Tananoff seat does not flip to the NDC. The Tananoff MPP seat has been a traditional seat for the party since 1996. There has been a downward trend as far as our parliamentary votes is concerned. And I know anyone who is seeking for such an office will want to harp on such situation, but ours is quite alarming. And so everybody in the constituency has a feeling that we need to change hands to bring in some new energy, new vibes, just to rekindle the spirit at the base and then get a lot of people to vote for whichever parliamentary candidate that we present. The incumbent MP has run 3 terms, that is 12 years. But if you look at the performance over time, we are recording the lowest performance the constituency has ever seen since 1996. You're talking about a constituency that goes into parliamentary elections and the presidential candidate wins with over 63%, 63, and the parliamentary candidate wins with 53%. The gap of 10% is quite huge. It doesn't make sense that President Akufo-Addo beats John Mahama with over 10,000 votes, and our parliamentary candidate, who is the incumbent, beats the NDC candidate with just 3,000 votes, a variance of about 7,000. So my message is that we need a hand, a personality to salvage the situation. Because if from 2016 to 2020, the incumbent MP loses 8,000 votes in one election cycle, that it means that if the same trend continues and we even lose 3,100 votes in 2024, we've lost the seat. And so I've been giving the delegates hope, and they just see the hope in me. They know that with me as a grassroots person, the way I connect with the youth and the young people in this constituency and everybody, will be able to bring back the spirit of NPP and increase our votes to the levels that we had, because the parliamentary difference has always hovered around 10,000, 11,000. But today we are at 3,000 citizens. Beyond that, there's so much at stake in this constituency. There are a lot of young people, just as there are young people everywhere. And people want to see leadership that will be in tune with the needs and the aspirations of the young people. I'm not saying this because I want to contest the position, but everybody in the constituency feels that, and that is the feeling and what we see. The incumbent MP is some way, somehow disconnected from the realities on the grounds. So the area where being a member of parliament is only limited to service to the people, where at the end of the year MP comes and say, oh, widows come for clothes, 6 peas, half peas, and I've given you rice and sugar. That's gone. People want to see that they have a leader who will be there to represent them. When people need, opportunities to go and study, they get opportunities. When people need to be connected to jobs, they get connected to jobs. But
the point is just, but your point is just made about if people want to get jobs, want to travel, they get it. Frida Prempeh is in a far better position to do that than you are. I mean, and that's just the challenge of coming up against an incumbent who is a serving minister of state. And so if that is what the delegates are looking at, isn't she more better position to deliver those than you are?
Yeah, that's one thing, having the position to do, and there's another thing, making sure that you really do what the people want. Others have the position, they are unable to actualize it to the benefit of the people, and that's what we see on the grounds. I don't intend to talk so much about the ills of somebody, but the feeling on the ground, the reality is that, yes, the MP is in a better position to have helped people realize their dreams. It's not everybody that you can reach out to, but people want to see that sense of hope and that sense of of a future, because what I see on the grounds here is that people are not so much interested in the largesse that politicians enjoy all the time, but the opportunities that they can also have to, better their lives, the kind of doors and openings that they need to be exposed to. We are somehow, some way disconnected from that. And so they need a certain dynamism in the leadership of the party in the constituency, where they have an MP who will be there for them, they have an MP who will listen to them, they have an MP who respects them and talks to them in a manner that consoles them, even if their needs are not addressed. So we are lacking that. We have seen over the years, 12 years, leadership and people relationship where the MP feels that she's on top, all other persons do not matter, and what she says is final. And you're unable to, kind of approach her and talk to her the way that you feel you want to talk to your mother, or you feel you want to talk to your leader. And that kind of quote-unquote disrespect to the people, and that kind of treatment that makes them feel that they are not worth what they are looking for. It's problematic. And that's why I say that politics, if it grows over the aspect of human relations, then you are losing sight of a big thing. So that's a huge problem.
Yeah, so that is for you a problem that you've identified, and you're couching the messaging to address that. But your story about coming up against an incumbent is very similar to Kwesi Kwarteng. And let me come to him. Kwesi, you have a far more complex context there, because you're not only coming up against an incumbent who is also very strong, who has a very strong public profile. You're coming up against the former member of parliament too, who's also in the race. You are a massive underdog there. You accept that?
Well, I think Asante Achimnov needs a leader, not, for instance, in terms of the weight of that leader. Bottom line is that we need somebody to lead. I don't think they are much concerned of where the person is coming from. Whether or not, the person in terms of has money, has a very big political capital, has a big social capital. No, that is really not the case here. What the grassroots and the people of Asante Achim wants to see is leadership. A leadership that will focus on the most important issues and is able to drive development into the constituency, and not necessarily a leader that will focus on dividing the constituency further. If you recall, just a few days to the release of the nomination by the various candidates, you had 14 of the constituency executives petition the highest decision-making body of the party to sanction the incumbent member of parliament. If you look at accusations that were leveled against him, it all pivoted on the fact that he was, dividing the constituency further and making sure that there is unity. Those are the critical issues that the people of Asante Achim want to do.
Are you exploiting that?
I'm not sure it's a case of exploiting. It has more to do with the fact that we have to bring somebody, a new face who will unite the party. Because clearly, if you look at the voter trend, it was the same polling station executives, the same delegates that rejected the former member of parliament on the clear case of non-performance. So I do not see, it's just like the case of John Mahama, where he came in and the people rejected him and he said he's going to learn his lessons and he's coming back. I don't see that working, because you had your chance, you had opportunity to work, you could not work to satisfaction. And so I don't see the delegates bringing Kwajuba back. In the case of the current MP, clearly, all the polls that has been conducted depicts that he's highly unpopular, not even at the constituency, not only at the constituency level, but even also at the national level. You have an MP beyond the fact that he used divisive tactics, focuses on the minors,